and a lot of interest in the body, theories of the body, super, super prevalent, and like taking off the corset. I mean, very big shifts in how we were cultivating our bodies. Huge shifts, and I think that that's relevant to what's happening now. Like, why now? I think it's because what's happening. It's what's happening now. It's what we're interested in. The fear of the cities taking over, and this kind of imaginary going back to nature and going back to the kind of more pastoral life, imagining that a pastoral life might be the answer, imagining that an embodied life might, like imagining what an embodied life might be like. What's happening then is happening now.
Can I just say that's something I just learned from Carlos, the artistic director of Dance Through Time, just told me that ballet, when it was really getting popular in Paris in the 1700s, was actually a back to nature movement. Something I never knew, and I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, and all this kind of work was actually to get out of the courts.
I just have another response to that, to the question that's circling right now, and it's like there's this big movement back to sustainability, and I think to be a sustainable body, we kind of have to think about how whole we are and the multiple different kinds of sensations we can have, and different kinds of pulsations we have, and experiences, and different ways we can move, and different qualities we can move with, and I think all of that is becoming important right now just because of the shift in our world towards a more wholeness, more sustainability. So that's it.
I was just thinking about the increase in technology and how it brings us away from our process of embodiment. Continuously looking into a screen in a very plain old way, and I see the young generation very differently in their movements and in their beings. So I would advocate a complement, not to say to take one away for the other, but a complement, and really, how to say, push the somatics and push the movements as a complement to sitting still in front of a screen, or something like that.
Yes.
I work with elementary school children, teaching them creative movement and a little bit of world dance. And I would just want to throw this out there. I'm so refreshed. We had a whole day of talking about why adults are weird and what they do that the kids find weird. And most of what they said was like text messaging, that they would rather text someone than call them and talk to them on the phone. And I found that like really refreshing. I mean, these kids are pretty young. They're like 11 and 12, but it was just really, it made me really happy to like, oh, like you guys would rather be playing and you guys would rather be moving your bodies and talking than, and the kids still want to be embodied and still want to be playing. So I guess my question is when is that shift in development?
Something I thought a lot about was, something I thought a lot about and never really mentioned, but it's coming up with some other comments, are I was in Israel the past few summers studying Gaga, and my question when I was studying it, which I never really thought of as a somatic practice until just today, was why here and why now, similarly, and I really came up with this idea in Israel that it was about a time and a space that you could control, and you could go against what was happening in your world. So it is a way to be embodied, it is a way to control the area around you, it's a way to be quiet, it's a way to be calm, it's a way to be with others in a space that is safe. And it came out of that specific conflict, is what I came up with. I don't know if that would be an Ohad quote or anything, but.
His mom was a Feldenkrais practitioner.
I was interested that somebody brought up at this table, we were just bringing up what did hierarchical mean? Because I made that statement, and of course there's teachers that are teaching somatics. I'm certainly one of them. And so we had a really great discussion about what that meant. And would some of you guys want to say something about that or talk about that? Besides me? Oh, I'm brain dead.
One of the things, Carol, that I heard, we were talking about the sort of horizontal transmission of information versus the vertical transmission of information, and someone at the table said, but there's still a teacher and a student. And somebody else said, well, yes, but the teacher's job is to liberate the information that's in the student, or that's my paraphrase. But I think that there's a partnership that develops that's a little bit, certainly there is a lineage, but there's also a sort of mutuality in the teacher-student or teacher-client practice that may be different than other forms of transmission of knowledge.
That it's a cooperative relationship, even though I feel we as teachers come with information and what we know, but it's the attitude. Susan used a great word. It's an attitude of inviting people to, this is information and now you take it, you explore it, you find out what's true for you based on your experience, and you keep creating your own definitions, your own ways of thinking, your own experience, and you own them, and they're yours, and they're not necessarily, even if they're protocols, lots of somatic systems have protocols, but even those protocols, until we experience them, until I know, it's not just someone telling me what to do. I have to experience that in my own body in order to communicate it or know. I have to feel my own lesser toe canter or greater toe canter and how it rotates in my body and my pelvis, in my hip joint in order to know it. I can't know it for somebody else. So it's the attitude, it's the way we are transmitting the material that models this is your experience. I'm not the authority of your experience. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I would even expand on that a little, Carol, because I love the way that you're articulating the how somatic learning is student-centered or practitioner-centered, as opposed, it's not a hierarchical kind of learning, and that, yeah, I would add that I think that perhaps we're being facilitated in that learning process from information that we're being reminded of, but that it's actually the body which is the source and the site of learning. And that something Bonnie used to remind us of a lot is that we know everything that we're learning here in this class, we know already. We may have forgotten it and we need to be reminded, but the body is the source, and we already have this information within us. So, and that I find really interesting. I don't think of myself as a particularly political person, but I do find this kind of a political idea that it takes us out of the capitalist economy in a way, that in the sense that this is, I find it kind of ironic that studying somatics is often very expensive. That if you want to do something like body mind centering school, it really does cost a lot of money, and then you come out of it and you feel like, well, should I charge a lot of money? So it kind of perpetuates this idea that you get what you pay for, and I just wanted to throw that out as I don't have the answer to it, but I think it certainly is kind of an underlying theme in the dance community, that a lot of dancers feel like, well, yeah, I want to study somatics, but it's expensive.